Hey, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks. It's Thursday night. It's January 5th, 2023. That's the first time I've been able to say that in any podcast. That's my first podcast of the year. But if you've caught this on YouTube any other time than that, you've got the recorded version. Hang tight. We'll get started here in just a second. Jay Franze is with me, hanging out with me tonight. Jay, welcome to the pre-show. This is a pre-show. We're going to talk a little bit about pour. What do you got of what do you got available? First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Merry
all that
Christmas,
good
Happy
stuff.
New Year, and thank you for having me on the show. Now let's get to the most important stuff.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's always great to have you. What are you drinking tonight? What do you got by your side?
Old Smoky Moonshine.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah. And
we'll
what's the
try it.
flavor?
This
What's
one
the flavor?
is apple pie, and if I get froggy enough tonight, I have banana pudding.
Banana. That's a ridiculous flavor. That's hilarious.
So
Banana
we'll
pudding.
see.
Okay.
I bought the apple
Okay.
pie, and they told me you got to try the banana pudding. So I said, give
Okay.
me both. I'll try them.
Yeah, they're good. They're good to try. Our family tradition for Secret Santa. Everybody picks. This year we baked things into biscuits or crescent rolls, and then it was different. Everybody had a different thing in the center. Like I had curry inside of mine, which was for my daughter-in-law, and so we do shooters. A lot of shooters come out of that. My kids got me the Sugarlands Shine, I think is what I got for moonshine. It's 25. Listen, guys, it's 50 proof. It's 25% alcohol, so it's not a lot from that perspective. It's more than wine, not quite as much as whiskey. And Jay's in the land of bourbon, so he knows the deal down there. But I also have Appalachian apple pie that we'll open that up a little bit later. I poured a Lucky Bucket snowsuit, which is appropriate with as much snow as we've been having here in most parts of the U.S. Even L.A. I saw got a little snow in the hills.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you could see there's a picture of downtown L.A. and then you could see the hills in the distance, and there was snow on them.
Not to
So
get too sidetracked, you see the pictures of Buffalo?
oh my gosh, yes, Christian, who will be on in a couple weeks, Christian Johnson, who will be on in a couple weeks. He drove in to that storm. He was trying to get home for Christmas.
No way.
And yeah, he said they had windows rolled down and they were, literally trying to get the snow off.
Dude,
It
I'm
was like
from the
3
north,
feet.
and I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah, no, it was, but if you live in Buffalo, you'd have no excuses. It's coming.
You would need a flamethrower to get out of your house.
I saw a guy who last year put in a radiant driveway. So he shot videos from a week or two before when they got maybe 6 or 8 inches, and it had no trouble clearing that. But this storm, he had to do a little bit of shoveling to get it was so much.
Just the house is covered in ice.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're in a little bit of ice country. I remember driving down to Kentucky one time through an ice storm. You guys get ice from time to time, don't right?
This is nothing like that. Nothing. I mean, I'm from Boston, so I'm used to bad weather. But even compared to that storm in Buffalo, Boston's nothing.
Yeah. 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 No, true. No, true. Jim Shoemaker's hanging out in the chat room. Jim, good to see you. Brian's checking in as well, saying good evening to everybody. And Uncle Marv's checking in with an hola. And Uncle
Hola,
Marv,
Uncle Marv.
good to see you out there as well. We'll get started here in just a second. So yeah, this snowsuit is really good. It's a spiced Belgian Abbey ale, and it's kind of got that Netherlands taste to it. It's pretty good. So we'll got a few more of those. I was going through the beer fridge. I still have an Oktoberfest left, which is good. I'll pull that out. Just when you want to feel like fall, we'll pull the Oktoberfest. Joe's checking in. Evening, Joe. Good to see you. We'll get started here in just a second. We've got a full evening of festivities, so guys, hang out with us. Looking for some of your feedback. I asked in the Discord group. We're going to talk a little bit about productivity tools, technology-specific productivity tools tonight. Thinking about that. If you'd had one, Brian, I'll read your quote. If you still want to go out to the Discord group and throw something in there, we'll try to get those. I'll try to get those in as we go. Get started here in just a second. Oh, hey, John's out there as well. Hey, John. Ryan's checking in. Ryan, good to see you. Ryan, are you still in Vegas, or are you back already? Ryan and Bob, who will be on 2 weeks, I think. They've been down in Vegas at CES. I don't miss it. I was like, they're having a good time. Yeah, I remember land of terrible internet. You know, just I don't know. It's that's just I did it a couple years in a row, and then I was like, yeah, I think I've done. Ryan's checking in live from Vegas. So nice live updates, by the way, Ryan. Thinkcomputers.org. If you guys haven't subscribed to that podcast yet, get out there and get it done. Whole crew is out here tonight. Bob Carpenter. Bob, good to see you. Producer Bob, as I like to call him. So, Bob, thanks for coming out. Good to be with you guys tonight. Ryan says he's writing content running on fumes. Yeah, you can't run on fumes when you go to Vegas. I mean, I guess you can, but
that's why you're running on fumes.
Oh, lots of good stuff. We're going to have Ryan and Bob on and kind of talk about the best of CES here in a couple weeks. So after all the dust kind of settles, then we'll have those guys on. You follow CES at all, Jay? And what's good was on there?
Okay. No, I have not done that this year. Did it?
Yeah, John. Yeah, you're right. Tony's not here yet, but you may, now that you've mentioned Tony in the chat, he monitors everything. I bet he shows up here shortly. So
got to mention him 2 more times.
Just don't use. I won't use that other word that I used earlier, and then the screen's froze. I make sure. Let me write it down. It's not your responsibility for my topics. Hold on. I
need something to do.
I was gonna. Let me write this down. I'm doing some new sleep stuff. So, okay. Guys, thanks for coming out. Good to see you. Like I said, John, Tony will be here in just a second. Trust me. Somebody's. Why don't you guys taunt Tony a little bit on Twitter? I haven't seen. Let him know that you're here, John, and that he's not, for whatever reason. He could be working too. He does work those, 10 on, 5 off, or whatever they are, shifts from time to time. So it's very possible he's working. Okay. Let me kick this thing off. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 557, recorded on January 5th, 2023. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful, for wintertime, Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we post the show with some world-class show notes. This week, not too many, but maybe a few, out at the AverageGuy.tv. Big thanks to Aaron Lawrence, who joined me 3 weeks ago now, I guess. I know I'd promised an episode with Sammy. That didn't work out. I took the week of Christmas off. Thanks for giving me some time off, guys. I just appreciate that. Thanks for letting me have a couple weeks off. It's nice to get some downtime. But big thanks to Aaron, who came on. If you haven't caught up on that, it's a tight 57 minutes. It's less than an hour. Jump out there, get it listened to. Aaron does a great job. Of course, techgadgetscanada.com is where she is from, and she just does big supporter of the show, and big thanks to Aaron for doing that as well. So big thanks to our Patreon subscribers, if you are one of those. By the way, if you are one, don't forget credit cards information usually expires at the end of the year for a lot of people, like November. My card is November. And I had a few of you where your cards failed. So it's not a big deal to me. But I'm just telling you, you'll have to go back into Patreon and update those. If you want to become part of our Patreon group, helps me do all the things that I do here, giving value back if we're adding value or fun or entertainment or whatever. Join me over there, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. I really just have one plan. It's $5. If you want to jump in for a month or two or whatever. And big thanks to many of you who've gone the distance for the last couple years. Appreciate that. Theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Jay Franze from Franze and Friends is back. And Jay, always good to have you on. Welcome back to Home Gadget Geeks.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be here.
How was, let's do a quick update. How was your Christmas? I know you damaged your neck a little bit or something. How you feeling? You doing all right?
doing all right. I pinched a nerve in my back and sent me to the emergency room, but I'm recovering.
Okay. All
So
kinds of good meds,
yeah,
those kinds of
and
things.
I don't know how that's going to happen
Relaxers.
with moonshine, but we'll see. We'll see how
Yeah,
things go
hopefully
tonight.
hopefully you didn't take the meds that soon or that recently to it, but it's not.
I took them with the moonshine. It works out perfect.
Hey, it's an additive. It works out just fine. Well, we're glad you're feeling okay. That is, listen, the back is in at our age, right? The back is the worst. Like you've mistreated it your whole life. It's usually not in very good shape.
Usually
We do
hunched
all
over
kinds.
like I am.
Exactly. We don't have good posture. We're maybe not as exercising as much as we should sometimes, right? And then the back goes. And I talk to a lot of guys, and that just seems like it's the worst. I've been blessed. I shouldn't say this, but I've been blessed with a
Don't jinx
pretty
yourself.
good. No, I know. I don't believe in jinx, but I've been fortunate not to. But I know a lot of guys and gals that do have that problem. It's just miserable. Is this happen before? Are you going to get better? Is it going to get back to normal? It won't last forever, will it?
No, I hope not. Lord, I hope not. No, I've had a pinched nerve once before in my neck and it went away, so I'm hoping this one does the
Okay.
same.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll try to keep you upright and active during the program here.
We'll see how that
Uh,
goes.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. Indeed, Christmas time here in the U.S. While I was taking some time off, was a little snowy. I think Jay, where you were at, you spent some time in the Kentucky, Tennessee area for Christmas. Did you guys get some snow on Christmas Day? Was it a white Christmas for you?
Kentucky was, we spent Christmas Day in Kentucky and it was snowy and it got kind of miserable. But then we drove to Tennessee on the next day and it was beautiful. And by the time we got down there, the snow was gone and we stayed on a lake and it was very nice, about 60, 70 degrees.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things, we'd had that super cold front come through before Christmas. That was before, right? And then some white Christmas, or maybe it was that right after Christmas we got that Arctic blast. Doesn't really matter. Um it got really cold, like really cold here. And it got me thinking about fire. Because right, what doesn't, what's not better, especially on the not so, when it gets 20 below or zero. Yeah, you can't really go out and start a fire. But right before Christmas, for whatever reason, I started looking at these solo stoves. You're familiar with them, the ones with the holes in them and they burn the wood efficiently. Have you ever looked at
Yep.
one of those?
Yeah, we have them all over our neighborhood here. We have a different one here at the house. We have a propane one in the back, but
Oh,
no, they have those all over the house. They keep them in the driveways and
yeah, yeah.
pretty
They're
cool.
kind of portable. You
Oh
can put
yeah.
them on stands. They're super efficient. And I think I talked about these on the Black Friday show, and I had been watching the prices go down and down and down. And finally, Black Friday was the best deal. I haven't seen one since. Free shipping on them, just they were throwing in all kinds of stuff. So I wrote a post about it. So what I want you, not necessarily you, Jay, right now, because we're doing a podcast, but the listener, head out to the averageguy.tv. I've been writing a few more posts, just kind of goofing around during the break, seeing if taking a run at some writing again, just to see. I still don't really like it all that much, but I'm going to give it a try. But I wrote this article, The Benefits of a Solo Stove, and why I still might get one. Even though I missed the best deal of the year, I might get one. So if you're thinking about it, if you're driving, certainly don't do that. But at some point, head out to theaverageguy.tv, look for it. Benefits of a Solo Stove. I think it's 5 benefits of a Solo Stove, and why I might get one. Would you get one, Jay? Have you ever thought
I
about
would
picking one up for
absolutely,
wood? Yeah.
absolutely,
What
hands down.
what 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 do you like about them?
The convenience. It's absolutely convenient, and
Yeah.
it, it makes the neighborhood around here just people walk around and you can sit out there by the fire. It's just nice. I mean, I really like it. Like I said, ours is propane. It's kind of fixed in its one location. Can't really move it around too easily.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the best part about it.
Well, and I threw it on the Discord group. Let me jump over there really quick. I threw this out in the Discord group a couple days ago, and got a couple comments. Joe Wallace from this is the Discord group says Joe says my neighbors all have them and love them. If I didn't build a stone, and I'm in the same boat. He said, if I didn't build a stone fire pit in the patio, I'd have bought one as well. The best feature is nearly smokeless, so you can walk back to the house and not smelling like a firefighter. And I did the same thing, right? I built this gigantic fire ring. It's got kind of solo technology built into it. Um, but it's kind of out there. I kind of the reason I thought about buying one is because I wanted something closer. And the problem with the old fire pit was it was too close to the house, and so the smoke could go in the house, and my wife hates the smoke smell.
So I love
So I
it.
thought, yeah, I do too, but not everybody enjoys it. So I thought maybe getting one of those might help. Schoonover said we've been considering a bonfire. That's the brand. That's one of the models, or a Yukon. First for portability. There are a couple spots in my backyard that may work for a fire pit. It'd be nice to try different spots. It's a great way, you're not kind of committing to where it's
Just
at.
digging up your yard.
Yeah, you can kind of move it around, which makes me feel bad that because I probably spent as much on all those, no, because I reused the bricks, but I probably spent a couple $100 putting that together, and that's all they are. They're $200-300, right? He says it'd be nice to try different spots. I'd love a nice fire, but the smell that comes from one of my neighbor's fires is not something I want to inflict on my own downwind neighbors. This past Saturday, St. Paul, a farmer's market advertised that they'd have 2 bonfires going. They'd be giving out hot dogs and bratwursts. Why wouldn't you go, right? Um, I was wondering how they were going to do the bonfires in downtown St. Paul, but as I walked up, they had 2 solo bonfires going strong. So approaching them downwind, I could smell the brats roasting, but no bad fire smell. Pizza oven, they have a pizza oven version as well.
Nice.
Add on for the bonfire in Yukon is interesting as well. I'm extremely surprised that they introduced the Mesa. That's a tiny little tabletop. I think it's a little too small, to be honest. Little tabletop fireplace. Says I was extremely surprised that they introduced the Mesa tabletop campfire. I envision legal department at Solo had many questions. All right. It's yeah, well, yeah. And Bob says in chat, you mean a candle?
Right.
And
That's what I
it
was
kind of, I
thinking.
don't know if you've seen the
I
Mesa.
love it, Bob.
It's like this. It's like, not even a foot tall and maybe, I don't know, 8 inches wide. It's, I don't know. Would you go in your backyard and light a little fire,
No.
like on top of yeah. I guess the whole idea is that you can roast marshmallows with the Mesa. It's like the perfect marshmallow roasting. Start the
For
fire.
one person. Who's eating marshmallows by themselves, Joe?
Well, you never
I
know.
mean, we have them like they put them in their driveways, and when they have block parties, and everybody can go from house to house and stay warm. But they also have them at all the events in town. So I mean, they're all over the place. The little carnivals and
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
do things like you're talking about marshmallows and s'mores and stuff. But I want to put the big fire pit in the backyard.
yeah.
We're on a neighborhood lake, so a little tiny body of water, and if I put the fire pit out there, it'd just be a nice place to sit. Right now, ours is propane and it's up against, or not against the house, but up on our patio. So it's not quite the same, and you don't get the smell.
Yeah, no, certainly with propane, you wouldn't get that. It has its own kind of
Nasty
unique.
smell.
Yeah, it's kind of its own ambiance is all call it. Yeah, I don't know. So I had it in my box. Like I had it in my cart ready to go. I was ready to drop. It's probably going to be about 280 bones, to pick it up.
It's not
And
bad.
then I was like, no, no, not bad at all. But then I was like, and I just bought this computer and I just bought a VR headset and I just bought all these things. I was like, do I really need another place to burn things?
Jim,
So
I laugh only because I told my wife Christmas is over. We got to tighten up now. And I went out today and I bought a mattress. And while we were there, we bought a TV. I'm like, okay, we need to leave now.
yeah, 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 right on. Right on. Well, go out and go out. I wrote a little post about it, just some thoughts on wine benefits of and such. If you give it a lift, I would appreciate that. Head out to the averageguy.tv. You'll see it. It's right on the front page. If it's not, just go to the search and put 5 benefits solo stove, and you'll see it in the search, and you can check it out. Jay, we originally we were going to try and get Fola to join us, and she couldn't. She's your co-host on Frenzy and Friends. Um, but we wanted to talk a little bit about productivity because it's the new year, right? Now, productivity is important all year long. but a lot of people are thinking about that. And I wanted to kind of think of it from a tech angle, because there are things, and listen, we think about things like to-do lists and reminders and some of those kinds of things. I asked out in the Discord group. Again, if you want to join the Discord group, I'll probably spend in 2023, I may spend a little more time bringing Discord comments in, because I'm finding you guys are doing a nice job of doing this. Brian out in the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Join us out there. He said, for me, it wasn't something that I found in 2022, but something that I refined, and that was exploring ways to help facilitate learning for my students using tools on Microsoft Teams, which Teams has gotten. I mean, Microsoft continues to build out Teams. Jay, do you use Teams on a regular
Yeah,
basis?
yeah, I use it every day. We use it as part of our organization, and right now I'm doing a big project for the state of Kentucky, and we use it there as well. So we use Teams, the Teams meetings, and all of the corresponding pieces of software. I mean, it's a between that and the whole Office suite and everything,
Yeah,
we use it
yeah.
pretty heavily.
I think Microsoft's intent is that Teams becomes the hub of everything. Now, I don't know how well, how sometimes that hasn't always worked well for Microsoft, but
It has some
you
quirks that
know,
I'm not happy with, but for the most part,
yeah,
it's pretty decent piece of software.
yeah. Brian, I was interested. You talked about using it with your students, and I always kind of think of it as a kind of enterprise or a work tool, but there's no reason it couldn't become the center of communication and learning in a learning application. It certainly is could do that. And my wife's work, they are Teams lists right now, but they'll go Office 365 next year, and I think Teams will come in and replace their phones. I think that's really where, for a lot of folks, you can, with Teams, you can use a headset, you can use a handset, you can use a headset, you can just forward it to your phone, right? I mean, there's
That's
lots
the
of
best feature right there. I mean, because if I'm on the road, I could take a call in the car, and still be in a meeting, and if I'm in a place where I can use the phone, I can still see see everybody on the screen, see the presentations they're giving. So
yeah,
it's definitely convenient.
yeah,
And if you
yeah,
switch, it just seamlessly switches from, if I get to the office and I pull up the laptop, open up the laptop, it says, "Would you like to switch to this device?" So, yeah, it's
and you
very,
go and you go, yes, please.
yes, thank you.
Uh,
Thank
Brian
you for
says everyone in our school org uses it, students and staff alike. I work with high school age students, not sure how young the elementary school use is for. I would say, Brian, on the team side, and I don't mean to make this a team's conversation, and we're not sponsored by Microsoft, but it's easy enough. I mean, it's just like any chat client. It's just
Yeah.
like any. I mean, there's just so many things. And we've just started to scratch the surface on it. We're a Microsoft organization for all of our communication stuff, and there's so much. Are there any tools in there that you would think are outside of the normal communication tools that you use, Jay, or are you just primarily using it for primary communication stuff?
Well, they're using it for communication, so that's what we typically use it for. We do the group chats in there and that type of stuff as well. Take phone calls in and out of there. That's very convenient because now there's no longer desk phones. Everybody just calls through Teams, and like you said, we can take that on the cell phone. But the biggest quirk I have is you can't move the windows. So if you're talking to a team of
Mm,
people and say you get 8 people on the call,
yeah,
it
yeah.
automatically resizes windows. It automatically shuffles them around. You can't click and drag one to a different location. You can pin one, but you can't move them.
Hmm.
So that's something that bothers me because a lot of times too, you end up in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and you could potentially be covering somebody that you want to see,
Yeah.
and you can't move those windows. And if
Hmm.
somebody knows a way, please tell me. But I haven't been able to find one.
Well, I find myself like on Zoom in Teams looking at myself. Like I think that's a lot of people do that, right? Let's just admit it. That's what we do. We look at ourselves, right? And so on Zoom, I move myself to the center as close to the camera as I can, so it just looks like I'm looking at the camera, or at least close to it. I've had folks, who I've been talking to them on Teams, and they're like this the
Right.
whole time, and that because that's where I'm at. I'm over. I'm for them. I'm over there, and you're like, hey, and it doesn't matter. This is the crazy thing about that. Where they're looking doesn't matter, but it makes us more comfortable when we're at least facing forward, right?
Well, that's like you on the screen right now. Your hair to the left, so I keep looking over
Yeah,
here to see you.
yeah,
But if I look
yeah.
straight ahead, I'm
Do I
looking at
do I need to
myself.
move? Do I need to move
Oh,
myself over so
dude, that makes such a difference.
put myself? Okay, well, we'll leave it. We'll leave it this way for a while. That way,
Yeah,
you know,
welcome
I'll
to my
just
show.
have to have to continue to look at you. Um, yeah. So it is. So with Teams or with Zoom, I can manipulate it a little bit to get them in the right places. So I still can kind of. So it still kind of looks like I'm looking in the right place. I can't. I struggle with that on Teams, and I think I
Yeah.
heard there were some updates coming that were going to kind of fix that. But I still would like. Why can't that just be an open palette where you move them and size them the way you want?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I'm sure they didn't have that, even that thought when they were creating it. But yes, it would be very convenient. I
Yeah.
know Google,
Yeah.
the Google Suite, we used that at one time, and you were able to move everything and change things.
Hmm.
And it's tough when you get used to one piece. Like I get used to Google, and then we switch back to Microsoft, and now I'm getting used to that again.
Yeah.
But when you take on, like we took on Google as a client, so we had to use their suite of products as part of the deal. So now that Google's no longer a client, we can go back to using Microsoft Teams.
So Ryan in the chat says, by the way, great comments, chat room. You guys are rocking it tonight. He says NVIDIA's new eye contact feature of NVIDIA Broadcast will actually digitally adjust your eyes to look right at the camera, even when you're looking off at notes. Now, how creepy, how creepy is that going to be when you turn your head and your
And
eyes
your eyes
still
stay right
still
there.
you're
You're like one of those paintings you walk through and they're always looking at you.
and at what point do they snap back to the
And what if you close your eyes and they're still there?
Yeah, yeah, it's like they'd be painted on your eyelids. I can't imagine. Ryan, I love this idea, and it makes sense in most cases. I mean, I squint a lot anyway, so you can't a lot of times even see where I'm looking. Um, but it would be. I think it's going to take a little bit of work to get that worked out. I don't know. Chat room, I want to hear from you on this. Does it matter if you look at the camera or not? Your preference, not whether it's right or wrong. I'm just kind of wondering, do you like it when like I can stare right at the camera right now. Do you
So now
like
you're
it
just
when
freaking me out.
exactly? Do you like it when you look at the camera, or somebody's looking at the camera, or do you not care? So put like or don't care. That I'd love to hear from you guys. Ryan says it was a bit unsettling when we demoed this week, but it works quite well in practice. So, yeah, I don't know.
I saw the word demoed and I thought it said demon. I'm like,
it
yeah, that
could
makes sense.
it could create some weird artifacts, and I think that'll be interesting. I just bought a new 3060 Ti, so maybe I'll be able to use that here. I wonder if that, yeah, who knows? Well, it's guys, thanks for your comments both here in the chat and keep them coming. As well as in the Discord group around that from a productivity standpoint. I want to think about it. Jay, I want to ask you this question. I just kind of redid my desk, and I think the desk for most of us is the center of our productivity suite, right? And for me, I added an additional curved 27-inch 2K monitor, which I watch a lot of YouTube, and so that kind of makes sense to like, yeah, I could have gone 4K, but I'm not really watching 4K content. So 2K is perfect for what I'm doing in most cases. And so I've got curved, I got the Mac and it curves right into PC, and then it goes right into a flat wall for four monitors for work. And then right above it, I got
You do hear what you're saying, right?
yeah, I do. Right above it, I got one leaning in. That's the TV. I can go to the Fire Stick for that, and then I got a monitor, and then I get the weather over here on the. So, like for
Curves into
me,
these four monitors over here. And I
well,
got this
I
one.
did see Bob and Ryan playing on a Samsung. I think it was in CS on a curved Samsung monitor. Ryan, throw the description for that in the chat. That was super curved. I mean, it wasn't just curved; it was like, right. And I heard Ryan say, from a gaming perspective, it kind of makes sense. You can kind of look around, and
Well,
be
let me
like,
tell
okay,
you, I mean, I don't have a curved monitor, but I've been thinking about it. I've been doing two or three monitors typically on a workstation. Right now, I only have one, but my workstation itself, I bought to curve and wrap around me. So used to do a lot of work in the music business, and you'd sit at these giant consoles that would stretch from left to right, and you'd have to roll your chair to get from one end to the other. And if you had a computer monitor, it was dead center, so you'd have to roll back to it to see. And then they started making the workstations where they'd wrap around. So when I built this new room here, that was one of my key things is I had to have a desk that would wrap around. And that way, at most times I have three laptops, one center and one on each side. And so I could just turn and work on this one, spin to this one. But I lost the ability to have two monitors. So because I have audio monitors to my left and right, I can only have one monitor in the center and it's flat. But I have the flat screen TV on the wall, and I use that as my second monitor now.
Yeah, and that works for you.
It's
Works
working.
pretty well for you.
It's not ideal because the flat screen, if you're looking at something small, it's still a good distance away from you. But if
Yeah.
you're using it like for streams, if I want to put something that I want to share, it makes it very convenient.
Well, Ryan just threw this in chat. You should consider this the new Samsung Odyssey Neo G9 57-inch
57.
and the G9 49. 57 inches. It's almost, Ryan, that's got to almost be full, like a half a circle around you. It's kind of what it reminds me of and now that I've been doing VR stuff, that is literally full circle. It's kind of creepy that way. But so Jay, for you then, because I love monitors. That's made me super productive. I love being down here. For you, what from a technology perspective, what makes you, and maybe thinking about in the last year or two of that, what makes you productive, or what do you really lean on for productivity?
Well, to comment on your monitors, I loved having multiple monitors, especially if
Yeah.
I could get away with three was always ideal for me. When I had one in the center and one on each side, that was very convenient. I wish I had that now. I could do it, but like I said, if I did it, I would lose the audio monitors. And being a mix engineer, that's really
Mm-hmm.
more important to me than the visual.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was important to build this room and to keep it as streamlined as possible. So that way, what I do have on my desk is within reach and easy to use. So I have really just well placed things, and I try to tweak it as I go. But like anybody else, you get muscle memory, so you want all of the gadgets and faders in my case or things in places where you can just reach them. So I have like I don't know how much detail you want on my desk, but I have things very strategically located. So
Yeah, I mean,
I really like that.
give me an example. Give me an example of like what's your go-to. What are maybe your two or three go-to things on your desk?
All right, yeah. So I have the Rodecaster Pro for things like this tonight, and for our podcast as well. So I use that. That's over to my right hand side. I don't change much on it, so it sits over to the right. I might occasionally reach over for a sound pad or something, but I know
Yeah.
right where that is. I can just move my hand,
Yeah.
hit the pads, come back. But the faders never move. They get
And
in.
the muscle memory for that's really important,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Because you're already trying to do something. You don't want to have to, what now? Where was that button?
right. Which one is that?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not reading the
yeah,
screen to see what the sounds are. So I
yeah.
just reach over. I have them color coded if I want to glance, and I can just go ahead and hit a sound pad.
Jay, one of the things I've been looking at is we think about Rodecaster Pro. Somebody might say, "Well, I'm not a podcaster, so I don't need a Rodecaster Pro." One of the things that I think everybody could benefit from is one of those Stream Decks, right? One of those. Hey, do you have one of those?
I do. That's what I was going to tell you. That's the
Yeah.
strategically located piece. I have the trackpad here, the Apple trackpad, and it places right up against the Stream Deck. So I mean, I just push it right up against it. So as I'm
Yeah.
using my mouse, I can also just reach up and tap a button. And for those who don't know, the Stream Deck is just a series of macros. I have the large one. I think it's 32 key, but I can just move my mouse around and like for Stream Deck or for StreamYard, I have all of the functions that you can do within StreamYard on the Stream Deck. So I can switch the camera angles or the camera views and so forth, the comments. And for me, what's more important is I use Pro Tools in the audio world. So I have all the Pro Tools shortcuts and things that I want to really quick access to.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's muscle memory. So I don't look at it. I just know if I'm on the mouse and I'm in this area, I can just reach up and click.
Hmm.
That's very convenient.
Yeah. And I think speed things up. I've been looking at just getting I think it's what, 12. It's four, 8, 12, 3 rows of four.
Yeah.
I think it's $80. But I've been
Yeah, this
thinking
wasn't
of,
expensive.
yeah, no, they're not terribly expensive. And I've been thinking of like having one of those here by, I've got I also have two monitors, although I've spread them out a little bit because they're on either ends of the curved monitors now, which helps because now when I'm looking at either one, I feel like the sound is coming from the monitor, so to speak. But I thought about for like StreamYard, for like things that I do on a regular basis of programming those to the Stream Deck. And like you do, just I don't know if you need most people probably don't need that, but maybe 12 is enough for me, you know?
Well, I do have the large one, and I bought it just because. I don't think you need it because you can switch pages on it. But I will tell you, like my screen for StreamYard, I'm looking at it here, is 100% full. So there's enough shortcuts and things you can do that can fill the full 32.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Pro Tools. I have that full with 32 as well.
Can you do 32 and then a switch, which gives you 32 more?
Yes, you
Okay.
can
Yeah.
endless.
Endless amounts of,
Yeah.
and eventually you have to remember, okay,
Which
what
page was this
palette?
on? And at that
What
point, it's no longer useful.
Yeah, no. Well, it's as good as your memory, right?
But
From
you know
that
what's
standpoint. And there's icons on them too, isn't there?
yeah, you can
Yeah.
like for StreamYard, I have icons, so all the different screens, the same thing you would see on the screen. On Pro Tools, I don't. But there's others like you can use multiple Stream Decks together, so you can have a large one and a small one. Or what's convenient, they have a foot pedal, which is basically three buttons that you can use with your feet, and that's convenient. So when you're talking, you can just step on a button, or
Well, I didn't know that.
maybe you're
Nice.
having a conference call at work and you can just step on it to mute yourself,
Yeah.
things like that. So that's pretty convenient. And they also released a new one that has a bar across where you can swipe your finger across it and has rotary knobs on it as well.
Mm. I
So,
did see the one with rotaries. Yeah, with the
mhm.
knobs on it where you could I'm assuming adjust sound or
Well, yeah,
right for those
especially in the
kind.
world of music, to be able to just reach and pan something
Yeah.
from left to right without having to use your mouse.
Bob in the chat's got a good suggestion. He says if you can't decide if you want a Stream Deck, they have a version you can run free on your favorite tablet for 30 days. Then decide what to get after that. Or it's sub $25 a year if you're going to stay on the tablet. So you could turn that. I'm assuming does that have to be an iPad or can you put that on Android, Bob? I guess that'd be my question. I
I
mean, I
have it
can
on an
look.
iPad. I think
Yeah.
I don't know. Bob will probably tell us, but you could probably use it on a Android. It seems like
Yeah,
it's
one of the things I like about I'm sure they've got it on Android, but one of the things I like about the Stream Deck is it's compact, sits on your desk, doesn't move. You touch the button and it doesn't move. If you put it on an iPad, I'm not saying you shouldn't do this, but I've got my Surface Pro and I use it for all my home automation, home assistant is the dashboards are on the touch screen. And it's on the dock, it doesn't go anywhere. Like there's nothing more frustrating than you touch something and the thing slides across
slides.
your desk, right? Yeah, Bob
Well,
does say iOS and Android.
well, it helps me with my mouse, the mouse track as well, the trackpad,
Holds it.
because it pushes up against the StreamYard or the Stream
Mhm.
Deck, and it doesn't move. So it's very convenient. Dual
Yeah,
purposes.
yeah. No, I had never. I mean, I've seen Stream Decks forever, and I was up in our at our churches in their technology area. They have quite the setup just for church. Like it's amazing what they have. And every PC has a Stream Deck on it. And I was asking the engineer guy who kind of runs the platform. I was like, yeah, really, tell me more about this. He's like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. He's like, this, that. And I was like, huh, that might be something worth trying to see if I could automate some of the things that I'm currently doing, to save time.
It is definitely one of those things that you don't need, and you can do everything without it. But for convenience sake, it's impressive. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one of those things that does one thing and it does it well.
And is it Bob says it runs on Wi-Fi? Are they Wi-Fi connected, or are yours connected USB?
USB.
USB. Okay.
Mine is. I don't know if they make a Wi-Fi version.
Uh,
If they did,
maybe
that'd be pretty cool too. To sit back on a couch and
maybe he's thinking about on a tablet. Those are gonna run Wi-Fi. Yeah.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah. There he goes. Yeah. Stream Deck Mobile requires a Wi-Fi connection. Yeah. You need to be on the same network, right?
Yeah.
And that makes sense from that perspective. Okay. Anything those are three really cool. I mean, yeah, the Roadcaster. Okay, not everybody. That's pretty podcast specific. We've talked about this before on this show. These microphones are handy to have at work, even if you're not a podcaster. Like
Right.
people, right, you do calls, and then people are like, "Whoa, oh, you sound really good," and you're like, "Well, I have a microphone."
Right. And it doesn't have to be an expensive one either. So
No, no, you can get away. Anything else then as you think of on your desk from a productivity standpoint that adds to your productivity or that you really enjoy having?
yeah, I have a. Again, it's not for the typical person, but I do have a mixing console, what they call a fader pack in front of me,
Mm.
and I use that for music mixing. I would normally rather have the Rodecaster in front of me when I do the show, but for mixing, it's important to stay in the center of the speakers. So that's why I have that in front of me, and that's just a like a giant Rodecaster Pro.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
nice and convenient to have for that. And that's USB. It's just again one of those things that you don't need because you can do everything in the software, but it just makes it very convenient to touch a fader or move a knob versus having to move your mouse and find things.
Yeah. No, right on. I listen, I am not one that I went through an era. I went through two Mackie FX Pro. I can't remember that whatever the names of them. I spilled wine in both of them. But I like physical keys. I don't want everybody's like, yeah, just run this thing and you can run it virtually on your like no, I've been a Windows guy too long. You don't run anything of production that you're gonna rely on in the moment on Windows because it'll do something crazy on you. It'll lock up, it'll blue screen,
Does
I
that
always
happen?
wanted physical. as often as the day is long, usually on that. Hey, let me ask you. You're a sound guy, an audio guy. Let me ask you this question: if I was gonna, I've got desktop speakers. I've got shelf. What do they call them? Shelf speakers? Is that what they're called? Where,
Yeah.
it's a pair of Roland MX8s. I think I've had them for 25 years. I mean, they're old now. They still work, so I use
Yeah.
them. But if I were to replace them, would I go? Would I go wireless? Is it still best to wire them in? I mean, for keyboard and mouse and all those other things, I mean, I could do Bluetooth. I could go Bluetooth speakers everywhere, right? Connect all kinds of things to them and have incredible convenience from that standpoint. But where do you stand on that versus wiring? I like to wire keyboards and mouse for sure, or mice for sure. Any thoughts on the speakers?
Absolutely. No wireless. Not
Okay.
for me. I mean, I do have a. It's funny. I do have a wireless speaker, but it is not for production purposes. So I have. I think it's a JBL brick, and I can take it Bluetooth, and that's fine. But for actual audio production, no, I've got it wired, and I take it a step further. I like powered monitors, so I have a pair of Atom powered monitors, and those are nice. They don't require anything else. I used to have the matching subs, but I've designed this room to not need the subs. So, but I like having the high end audio in front of me, but wherever else I go is not high end at all. It's either my
Okay.
car or a speaker or my earbuds.
Yeah. I was on thinkcomputers.org with Ryan and Bob. I was on their show. We were talking about things we wanted for Christmas. And I was thinking of Edifier. Is that a brand of speakers? It's escaping me now. Doesn't matter. Two audio inputs, which I would use both because I have the Mac and the PC. I want to bring both in. Today, I only really have one on this set of Rolands. Just have one input. So it's nice to have that, but it also had the option of Bluetooth, which I thought was kind of nice. I have a Bose Connect. I think these are called Connect 2 Bluetooth portable speaker. Really bought it for the deck when we're out there, but it sits on my shelf here and is actually Bluetooth connected to the TV. So when I have the TV on, I have a whole separate control for that and a speaker behind me. I don't mind listening to the TV on a speaker behind me. It doesn't have
Right.
to come out this way, right? Type deal. But it gave me some flexibility. So I like that ability. Joe says in chat, he says Bluetooth generally, and I'd agree with him on this. Bluetooth audio is generally horrible
Yeah, it's
on
compressed.
that. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's an old it's an old protocol, right? I mean, it was designed in a different day. Bob says red wine used to be the number one killer of notebooks. Some marketing collateral I seen. I don't know if it's still true, but highly likely. Well, I've ruined
Tonight it's moonshine.
exactly. I've ruined two monitors, two Mackie Edifier. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Edifier. Yeah, those are the two I mentioned. Really nice looking, and 100 and I say $125 a pair would replace these two. Didn't pull the trigger on them because I was buying whole bunch of other stuff, but I thought I'd ask from from a guy who does music, like, okay, for the stuff that I really want good quality out of, wired or wireless, but what you're saying is wire everything.
If you're an audiophile and you want that level of content, keep
Yeah.
it wired. And if you're willing to, I know it's expensive, but if you're willing to bump up to $500, you can
Hmm.
get a really nice pair of Atom monitors, and they go up to thousands a piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but you can get a really nice set that would be great for computers and YouTube and all those things for $500.
I've got mine sitting on my desk at desk level. They're over on the side. They're pointed right at me. Is there an optimal way
Oh
to
yeah.
have speakers sitting on our desk? I mean, when we think about productivity, if we're going to have speakers and we're going to spend some money on them, what's the best possible placing of them?
How geeky do you want me to get?
Mildly geeky.
All right. They should be in a triangle format, and if you have them in front of you on your left and right, your head should be at the point of that triangle. So you
Oh,
should be receiving it. They should
okay.
be tilted in at 60 degrees. So if you keep them on the side of you, I think it's 63 inches apart from each other in your triangle. So your head should be at the 60th, you know, at that
Yeah.
same distance apart at the peak of the triangle. And if at all possible, you have separate speaker stands. Mine are on anchor stands, which are cast iron, very heavy. So that way the vibration of the speaker doesn't move with the desks. So
Got
if
it.
you have it on a desk and it vibrates, your desk is going to vibrate because it's not that sturdy. So the more sturdy of a base you can give it, the better the speakers. When it pushes out, it's going to truly push out versus vibrate and
Got
come
it.
back.
And go back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So my setup's not very good, is what you're telling
depends on what the purpose is,
me. Yeah.
right?
Now, listen, I'm not an audiophile, right? I
So, I
don't.
mean,
Yeah.
the purpose of having the triangle is for a very good stereo image. That's why you try to keep the monitors, the computer stuff, out from the middle of it. So,
Okay.
by me having one monitor, I'm still disrupting my stereo image, but it's not as bad as if I had two. And it's definitely not as bad as if I had the three.
Could you do one and then your speakers, and then on the to the right and the left of those speakers have monitors?
Yes, you could. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a few
Yeah.
different ways. What I would like to do is kind of like we have mic arms. I would like my monitors on arms like this, and I can, when I'm mixing, I just push them down underneath the desk.
Okay.
And then when I want to use them, I can pull them back up. That would be ideal.
Bob asked the question, how much do you notice if you say turn one of those speakers? So for you, you've got them aligned. If one comes off just a little bit, do you notice it right away?
What you'd notice is the difference in your stereo image. So if you have a singer that's supposed to be in the dead center of your stereo image and you move a speaker, that singer might do this. Now, would you notice it right off the bat? If it's a singer, maybe, but if it's a guitar, probably not. So you just notice a difference in that stereo image. And I
Oh,
mean, you can get very precise. Like these were done with laser beams. I mean, I sit in the chair where I'm going to ideally mix,
wow.
and someone
Wow.
puts
Okay.
lasers, and they put. That's why you can kind of see these panels back here.
Yeah.
There's big ones up in front, and they're all strategically placed, except the ones in the back are decorative. but the ones up front are strategically placed with mirrors where the sound reflections would go when you're playing music through the speakers.
Hmm.
So you can get
But that's
very,
part
very
of your
carried away.
job, right? That's part of your job is to do this for a guy like me. Although I do love, you can buy those little laser pointers that you use for your cat and dog,
It really
right?
doesn't take much. I mean, it sounds like a whole lot, but it's just an afternoon of
Yeah, yeah,
painstaking.
kind of
Move it one
monkeying
more,
around with it.
move it another centimeter. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put mine. I've got ones that they're totally wrong. It's one's right in front of me as I'm facing this way. One's right in front of me, the other's to the right, right. But as I turn to, I'm watching YouTube now on the 2K monitor. Okay, all of a sudden now that right
The sound
monitor
stays with
is
you.
in a better, yeah, it's kind of in a better spot. I think for most of us, it's kind of what we get used to. Eventually, we start hearing it kind of based on close enough, for a lot of people, right? Don't you think?
Well, I think most people are just playing music in their car, and their car becomes the ideal place. I mean, even when we mix records, the very first thing we do when we're done mixing is let's go see what it sounds like in the car. I
Mm,
mean, because that's
yeah,
where everybody's going to be listening to it.
yeah, true, true.
And the whole point of having the speakers and everything perfectly is, yes, it gives you a very good stereo image, but the biggest purpose of doing it is for the bass frequencies. So what happens is if you're in like this room is rectangular, so it has to be rectangular to work ideally, and the bass frequencies build up at certain increments as you go back in the room. So if you're sitting in one of those increments in one of those sound waves, the highs and the lows, if you're sitting in one of them and it sounds bass heavy, you're going to mix your audio with no bass in it. You're going to keep lowering
Mhm.
it. But then when you go to the car, you'll notice there isn't any. So the better you can get your room to sound as flat as possible, the better it's going to translate to your car or to your living room or
Mhm.
in a TV
Mhm.
or radio.
Yeah. Do you prefer live sound to headphones, or would you rather be doing most of your work with headphones?
No, I do it all. Mixing I do with the speakers. Anything else I do with the headphones.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean I might listen to a mix with my headphones, but everything is 100% speakers when I'm just mixing it.
And is that common,
Yes.
or for most audio folks,
Yeah.
anyways?
Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time. It's been 30 years working in Nashville, so I've done a lot of records, and I've worked around a lot of people who've done some really big records as well. And everybody mixes with their speakers, and not everybody mixes in an ideal treated room.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
not everybody can afford it. Not everybody does it. I mean, and it's not
yeah.
like it, if you bought monitors, you could have your room pretty close in an afternoon. So it's not like it's unobtainable. But if you
Hmm.
really want to go all out, there's people that'll come and tune your room and fix it for you.
Hmm. Yeah,
But no, yeah, most
yeah,
people use the monitors.
yeah.
If I
No,
could mix in the car, I would.
yeah. Well, if you're producing for a car, you ever thought about building a studio inside the house that's just shaped like a car?
No, I haven't. But what I did try to do is we talk about all this wireless and all this stuff. Is
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
try to get stuff on my laptop so I can make mix changes when I get my mixes done, and if I could just take the laptop to the car
Ah,
and make the final
yeah,
tweaks.
yeah,
But now that I have a
yeah.
room that sounds good, I don't typically
Right,
have to worry about it.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's certainly a unique for you, a unique, or not as common. Most of us aren't mixing music that way, but I mean, I do know folks who like to have good audio at the desk, and I was surprised when I bought these speakers. I was just like, oh, this was 25 years ago when we were still
Roland makes great
using.
speakers.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Now, on the ones I have, the volume knob is scratchy now. So I just turn it up full blast or maybe three quarters, and then I mix everything else to kind of match that. But at least I think that's what I have it at now. So I don't touch it. I never touch the speakers anymore because I don't, they'll then it starts going from left to right. And so this is why I'm kind of thinking at some point I'm going to need a new set, be like, well, at some point I'm gonna have to drop 150 bones on a new set.
You could actually get. There's a company named Behringer who makes
Oh yeah.
consume
Yep.
prosumer level stuff.
Yeah.
They make powered monitors you could probably get for that price and get
Yeah.
really good. You were
Well,
talking
these
about
these Edifier ones, it's about that same price.
you
Yeah.
were talking about the volume and on your
Yeah.
speakers. I went out and
Yeah.
got one of these things. It's an SPL meter, and I have the.
Show it again. There we go. Yep.
This is an old one. I think it's from Radio Shack. If you want to know just how old it is,
Radio Shack.
but
Nice.
it still
The
works.
Shack.
It's really good. And what I do is I have the Scarlett 2i2 for my audio output, and I have the marking of 90 SPL on my Scarlett, so I never touch it. So that way, when I'm listening to music, whether it's mine or somebody else's, it's always at the same level, so you're always making the same decisions. What happens is if you listen to music at different volumes, then the sound is different. So your bass reacts differently at different
Okay.
volumes. So if you keep everything consistent, it helps you. And
Yeah.
then 90 decibels is usually the optimum.
90
But
decibels.
90 decibels.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and for most of us, it's just trying to get good sound, at there. I like Jay Madison, who we have on our other Jay, who we have on from time to time. He's got the most immaculate and he love desk setup, and he loves just neat and clean and crisp, all the cords put away. I could not be more opposite. I'm more eclectic. I've got different size monitors and different places and different orientations, and constantly moving around and
I'd be
doing
more
certain
like
things
him.
with them. Yeah, well, good.
I have everything in a place, and like for muscle memory, it's really because I'm anal. But
Mm-hmm.
like I have, you mentioned typical desk stuff. I have the wireless keyboard and mouse, but I have a second wireless keyboard and mouse behind me. So when I have somebody here in the room with me, if I'm mixing a song, I can throw it up on the TV, and if they're trying to show me something, they can just take the controls and make the adjustments.
Ah,
So that's pretty convenient.
well, that's a good idea.
So for me, I have the full size keyboard and the trackpad up here, and there's the smaller keyboard without the number key and a regular mouse in the back.
Do you know what the resolution of your TV is that you have up there?
No,
Okay.
it's a
Just big.
Samsung. It's
Big.
it's not that big. I think it's 43 inches, 43
Mm.
inch Samsung,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's good for my space. It's nice.
Yeah, and I find you can. I love that idea of. And we do this at work all the time. We'll be working on something together, and we have desks with big TVs at them all over the place. So like, let's just go to a conference room and we'll start working on a shared monitor, right? So that we can be pointing things out, or no, do this, or no, do that. And it's just a lot easier that way. Not as much during the pandemic, but we found that we were sharing screens. Like, hold on, let me just share my screen. What the crazy thing is, pre-pandemic, that was a big deal. Like,
Right.
hold
Nobody
on,
did.
yeah, hold on, let me share my screen, and then it would
And then
take
it was
like,
10 minutes of how do you do it? Which button
I
was
gotta
it? Can you
find
see
it.
my
What
screen? Can you see it now?
exactly, exactly. Now it's like, let me just share my, and before they're even done saying it, the
Pop.
screen is up.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it now? Yeah.
But
Okay,
they
let's
still
go.
ask.
Well, I think it's a nice courtesy, right? I think that's another one of those, like, just to make sure before we move on. You're seeing it, right? Okay, that's fine. But it's just funny how quickly we have defaulted to, let me just show you. Let me just share my screen with you, type deal. So but that works out. I had I shouldn't tell on myself on this one, but I was in a meeting and it was getting a little heated. And I said, let me just share my screen. And she goes, don't you share your screen again. I'm so sick of seeing that screen. Because I'd belabored the point by sharing my screen too many times. She was not really happy with me at that point. I said, and there were two other folks in the meeting, two really young, kind of new to the company, and you could just kind of see them, you know, kind of back away, like,
Back it off. I'm not
are
going to be
are
part
they
of this.
mom and dad gonna fight? Is that what's gonna happen here?
I can
Well, I
tell you
love
some.
that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I could tell you something real quick on the same point. I was in a
Yeah.
meeting the other day, and things were getting heated in the meeting, and somebody was
Mhm.
getting chewed out, and things were going on. And there was a guy presenting, so he had his screen shared, and you can see the comments coming up on the bottom of his screen and saying, "Oh man, he's really
Oh,
chewing him out," and and the guy didn't realize it. So he's
yeah.
just talking about what's on the screen, and the messages just keep coming up. You see what he's
Oh,
saying to
man.
him? I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
"Oh," but
Yeah. Yeah. Pop-up notifications. Those,
killers.
yeah, they have been, and I think, pre doing this, there was some folks who would, maybe type a few inappropriate things in there, you know, and you're like, oh yeah. Bob says how, oops, nope, that's not the one I want to look for. It'll take a second to pop up. There he goes. So Bob says, first rule of presenting, never share your primary screen where your messages come up. And that is
Yep,
that, yes. And Bob knows.
spot on, Bob.
Bob knows. It's early on. We had a situation like that, but it was like an all hands so we had like all the company in there and someone shared, and then these comments were coming in on chat, It's like, oh, you're just embarrassed for him too. You're just like,
Well, these were some
oh,
comments that could have got somebody fired.
yeah, yeah, no, right on. Hey, Jay, from a productivity standpoint, when we think about a software application that makes you the most productive, what do you think? It doesn't need to be new, but what do you think? And maybe besides the specialty stuff you have to use for editing and stuff,
Sure.
do you have some organization or something that you like to use?
Yeah, no, I do a lot of project management, so I use Trello,
Yeah,
and they also got Monday.com and those type of things. They're good for different purposes. Monday.com's got the Gantt charts and stuff that are kind of cool to look at, but Trello's just you can put up boards and you can stay pretty organized by doing that. I stay organized with my general stuff. Like I talk to my phone probably more often than most people do. Just remind me to do this, add this to my calendar, let's add this to this list. So those type of things keep me from forgetting things because I am old and I do forget. I
yeah.
mean, my wife will tell me something and I'll walk away and forget what she told me. And I don't know if that's because it's my wife or because I'm forgetful.
Or maybe a little bit of
Uh,
both.
more both.
Maybe a little bit of both.
But
Maybe a
yeah,
little bit
so
of both.
I mean, I use those type of things. I've got a whole bunch of stuff like to my left of me, and I mean, I've got just my laptop. It's got the calendar, the notes, the reminders that tie into my phone. My production computer's also there. My laptop's a Mac. My production computer's a Mac, and I've got the iPad and the whole Apple suite of whatevers. And I like the fact that they just all sync, so it's seamless.
Right.
Like
Right.
tonight, when I need to log on to this with you, I just pull up the email that's in my production computer versus my laptop or my iPad or iPhone or I this or I that. So those are good for me. But Trello is the one that I use a lot for work, staying organized, or even shows and projects. Um, there's I'm trying to think in work we use a software called WinTeam. WinTeam is a
Mhm.
scheduling software that I can schedule a team of people, but it also ties into payroll and to billing, so everything stays consistent. But other than that, no. I mean, most of the stuff I do is in production world or even
Yeah.
podcast world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people think of, Trello has gotten really, really popular. I use Microsoft To Do for I have daily chores. I've kind of taken, when the pandemic started and I came home, I kind of took my first hour or two like a farmer would and get all his daily chores done. There's all these things I needed to do every day. So I just made a list of them, and I know I could probably go through them without forgetting one, but it's still like a pilot. I still go through my checklist every day. Did I get all my chores done?
Right.
My daily chores. It's like checking Facebook and Twitter, those for work related stuff. But I think the thing over the pandemic that's made me the most productive, and I know it's going to sound kind of weird, but it's having timers everywhere. Right now, I can, it used to be, you maybe have an egg timer or whatever in your kitchen, but now I've got the Amazon device, I've got the Google device, I've got
Right.
the watch on my wrist, and I can literally call up a timer. We have the Amazon devices all around the house. I can usually call up a timer. So when I'm making coffee in the morning, I say, "Hey, lady, set a coffee timer for 8 minutes."
Yep.
That's the perk timer, right? And then it'll go off, and I'll watch the coffee for a minute. What would be awesome is if the stove had that. I'm just waiting for because as soon as it starts perking, then I just pop it over to low for 6 minutes, and I say, okay, send that timer down to the studio, and I grab my stuff. I time it. It's like a dance every morning, right? By that time, I have the dishwasher empty. I got my breakfast in hand, and I've got a cup of coffee. I set the thing to brew, and then I come down here for 6 minutes, and then the alarm here goes off.
Let me tell you, I hope
So
my wife's not listening tonight.
it's just those are my chores. Just those are my regular chores that I have to do.
I
I
don't
always
want to
do.
hear her saying you empty the dishwasher and you make coffee. No.
Those are two of my chores that I do and that I do each morning. Um, but then being able to send that timer to a different device in a different room,
Oh, yeah.
it has been, and then of course with cooking, it has been, the ability to get a pasta timer, pasta timer, meat timer, and whatever going all on the same device, or have two timers going on the A lady, almost said it,
I've got mine muted.
and then like the microwave timer right above me, where I can just now I just because it's right in front of me, just boom, boom, it's off, right? So yeah, multi-room timers. Bob says multi-room timers, yes, for the win. That has been just in being able to start a timer in the kitchen and send it to the studio or send it to the garage or whatever. So say it on my phone and send it to my watch. Like all those things, they're super helpful. I don't know. Do you use timers at all that
All
way?
day long.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I didn't, I would forget everything. I have
Yeah.
timers for meetings, timers to pick my kids up, timers to wake up to
Mhm.
get my kids to school. Or
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've got timers for everything. I do have your A lady next to me, by the way. I've got I think it's 7 or 9 inch screen, and it sits over here and gives me news updates all day
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things that I probably shouldn't be paying attention to.
I put mine behind me for productivity reasons, right?
Yeah.
So it's here on screen. You can see it. It's
Yep.
right above my left shoulder, but
Yeah.
I didn't want it. I've got enough. I, I've got enough. Although I think eventually it's going to end up. It's going to end up there. Ryan's checking out. He says, "All right, headed out to another event here at CES. Great content so far this evening. We'll have to catch the rest of the show probably on my flight home." Ryan, safe travels. Thanks for checking in. It's not easy
Thank you,
sometimes
Ryan.
to check in from Vegas on these kinds of things. So Ryan, thanks. We're looking forward to having you on the show here in a couple weeks. Bob, you're not far off. He says I need a coffee maker here in the studio. Sarah actually, when she brought me the Nespresso, the intent of it was to come down here, but that thing's too loud to brew. I don't know if you've ever used an espresso machine. That thing is loud, So I couldn't. I was like, no, we'll leave it upstairs. What I did end up doing is getting a bigger coffee mug for down here, so I could pour that up, and then that turned into the percolator. We had a plug-in perk, and then I bought a stovetop perk, and so it just keeps getting it keeps evolving. I've also thought about having water down here. It'd be nice to have like a small little water thing, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't,
Got the
but then it's
fridge
like,
back
dude,
there.
yeah, dude, just get up and get water. You don't have to be that lazy.
Well,
you
dude,
know?
that fridge back there's been very convenient.
Yeah.
Of course, it's filled with Fireball or whatever else.
No,
But
right on. Yeah, I know. Right on. Yeah. Bob says, hey, a lady, tell me what day it is in 5 minutes. You could do that if you wanted to. Um, Bob says, my problem is someone told me that Nespresso tastes like freeze dried coffee. No, it's actually pretty delicious. Those Nespresso guys are pretty picky about their coffee now, but I like it. It's a good. I mean, for instant coffee, it's some pretty good stuff. Jay, anything else as we think about wrapping this up? Anything else from a productivity stuff that makes you productive or makes you better?
yeah, I mean, I think there's a handful of things. To mention a couple more things, I think this desk thing that you brought up tonight's kind of convenient and kind of cool. I also have two lights that are strapped, attached to the desk. That's been, it seems like such a simple thing,
Yeah.
but for work calls and stuff, it's made a big deal. I mean, it's really helpful. Now, they're probably a little bit more powerful than they need to be, but they've been very helpful.
Yeah.
As far as productivity stuff, I I have stuff like across the room. The biggest thing to me is the organization of it all and how I use the stuff. Like even for something as simple as my favorites list in my phone is sorted by my managers and by my clients. So I muscle memory can get me to a number, or asking the lady in my phone to make the phone call for me.
Hmm.
Those type of things are amazing to me. But the biggest thing I could tell you that I do that helps me is I make use of commute time, whether that
Oh
be
yeah. Yeah.
using that power list to contact all my managers as I'm driving to a client location to do check-ins and hey Jim, how you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? What are you working on? What can we do? Or it could be something that's just monopolizing the time and trying to read, book on tape or a podcast or something like that. So I really try to focus my commute times to be productive. And then one last thing that I probably shouldn't do, but I do have three laptops during a day for three different projects I work on. And multitasking is bad. We're not supposed to do it. I get that. But if I'm working here and it's time to, I'm at a stopping point, I can then turn to this one and get caught up over here. And then I bounce between three laptops
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just making use of every minute in the day.
Yeah, this idea of a safe state, I think, is important when you think about the three different laptops. I have a Mac and for here I've got a Mac, Windows, and then work, which is Windows.
Right.
And so the ability to work and save state and not have to worry about, because sometimes if you're doing two things on one machine and you get into it and then you close, like, I don't need this window. Oh, I need it, type deal, right? For me, real estate is everything, but being able to save state purposefully, I think, is what I hear you saying.
Oh yeah, being very
Yeah,
strategic. My
yeah,
my personal laptop is a Mac. My two work ones are PCs,
yeah,
and to be able to switch between them seamlessly and keep everything 100% on their own device. So this project doesn't get confused with any other project, or I don't have to think about the file management.
right,
File management, that's another thing. I mean, we do it
right.
in the audio world, but in podcast world and just in my corporate life, keeping track of all of the files and having a system that works for you. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what system, as long as you can recall things. Just like muscle memory again, it's just knowing where your files are so when you need them, they're there.
yep, yep. Because you can have the greatest file system in the world if you don't know how to find them,
Right.
or
Or you
get
don't want
back
to
to
take
it.
20 minutes to search for something, then you're out of the groove.
Yeah, no, right on, right on. You get out of that zone. Bob asked you a good question. I think he says, "What's next on Jay's must-have want list for the studio?"
Oh, there's a couple things. I would really like to switch to a curved monitor that went along my desk because I do have that kind of. It's almost like a V-shaped desk at this point. I would like a monitor that curved along with it, so instead of having two screens, I could split them up. That would be nice. Um,
I think they've got that now. I think Bob and Ryan saw one of those in Vegas where you can pull it in. I mean, you kind of determine the shape of it.
oh,
I don't know if that's is
oh,
that what you're thinking
the
about?
shape of the monitor.
Uh-huh.
Oh wow, no, I didn't know they had
Yeah.
that. That would
Yeah,
be
the
cool.
curve of the monitor. I think it's just the curve. I don't think you can shape it
Right.
any other way, but
Yeah,
I
that
thought
would
I
be.
remember them talking about that. That may be coming here.
Yeah, because right now
Um,
I use HP flat screen monitors, and when I had the two, I could kind of bevel them in the shape of a V. But there's a couple microphones I'd like to get as far as studio gear. Um, my wife and I just ordered a reclining massage chair for right behind me, so I can sit in here and goof off when I'm supposed to be working.
that's a little tempting, but because I need a new chair. The next thing I get is a new. This I bought this one during early pandemic, maybe the first week of the pandemic. I went and got it. And it was a cheap, like $80 chair. And I have absolutely, it doesn't hold its, I mean, it rocks. It doesn't hold anything. It goes
They
this
make
way and this
noises
way.
and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
creaky.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't a bad chair. I mean, you can see it. It's a Shaquille O'Neal, so it's got the seat cushion of a monster.
Yeah.
But the to answer Bob, I guess the number one thing I'd like to get right now, I'm looking to get 3 mirrorless cameras and a ATM Mini Pro. So it's the 3 mirrorless camera and the video switcher for them. That would be my next big purchase for the studio.
Okay. Okay. And why? What for what application? How would you use
For
those?
doing more interview stuff and talking
Okay.
to people. Like
Okay.
I could have
Yeah.
people in the studio and everybody would have their own camera. And you can use I don't know how familiar you are with an ATM Mini. It's kind of like your Stream Deck for video. It's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
able, you
Yeah.
just click on a button, switches to this camera. All 3 cameras plug in through an HDMI cable into the ATM Mini. You can have four cameras, depending on the size. They got a small one and so forth, but you can have as little as 4 cameras. And so you just press camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, or 4, and it switches between them. So if you have 3 cameras and you're interviewing somebody, you can have 1 camera on both of you and then 1 on each individual. And depending on what's going on, it's literally just a tap of a button, and it all goes USB into your system, and you can throw it out on StreamYard like it's anything else.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. There was a company that did this for a lot of years with video. You'd bring, I forget the name of that. It's escaping me now. I want to say Yeti, but that's not the right. That's the. Anyways, there's a lot of cool stuff coming like that. I think with video that just
Problem
makes
is it's
it.
expensive.
It's super expensive, but I think it's going to get cheaper. I think
You
it's
look
good
at
like
a
everything else.
decent mirrorless camera, you're looking at 1,000. You can probably get them as low as 650, somewhere in that ballpark. But
Yeah.
you look at 3 of those, then you look at an ATM Mini.
Yeah.
You're looking at about a $5,000 purchase.
Yeah.
Convincing the wife I need a $5,000 purchase is not easy.
We found. I think we've no, no. I mean, you got to kind of justify. You got to kind of justify that for sure. Hold on. We've found this monitor for you. So
Oh God!
let's go to.
Hey Jim, can you share your screen?
Yeah. Let me share. Hold on. Let me share my screen with you.
I don't see
How's
it yet.
that?
I don't see
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Oh,
Here it
wow.
is. It's Corsair. The
Got handles on the side.
yeah, the Flex 45. It's got handles on the side. Let's see if I can get the video. Watch this. Did you see that?
That would be awesome.
Do you think that's what you're?
I wonder how far do you think it goes? Because that's switching. Okay. When you see the back, it's switching
Yeah.
between flat and curved.
Yeah, and not a lot of curvature in there. I mean, as we're watching this on screen, I know this is riveting for
it's great
audio
audio.
listeners, but basically, it's
so-
got 2 handles on the side, and you pull those handles down, and you can kind of pull it in. Boy, that base better be pretty heavy to pull that in. Otherwise, you're pulling the whole thing in with you.
See right there. I wonder. Yes, the
Here, let's watch
handles are attached to the back of the TV, but I wonder if you could use a mount. Right there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's like in the back here.
If you took the stand off, could you mount it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
I'd
if you
have
could
to-
mount it on one of those monitor arms that are kind of like our mic arms,
it's only $2,000.
only. I would not spend $2,000 on a monitor.
What? But you can
audio.
you can-
I would do it all day long on a monitor. I
not
love
so
having the
much.
monitors. I just don't know.
Yeah.
2,000.
That's kind of creepy. Bob says, or Brian says, "Wow, that's wild," and it is. Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. Maybe we'll have to when Bob and Ryan are on. We'll have to
Get the details.
we'll have to
on it.
talk about it. Yeah, they got a chance to take a look at it. I'm not sure I would necessarily like. I don't know if I would make it flat and curved enough to make that
I would do it
feature.
one time and never move it.
Right. Right. And then it's just at that point it just makes sense of finding the right
Buy the
curved
right
monitor
curve.
for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Like my
Yeah. Buy the
lights
right.
are my microphone, the two lights, and there's another camera to my left are all on mounts, and all the mounts mount right to the desk. And I would like my computer monitor is on a base which sits on the point of the V-shaped desk. So if I could, I would much rather have the monitor on an arm on a mount, and that would free up at least a good half a foot of desk space.
Yeah.
And it would also push the monitor back further, which would help me with the audio, the stereo image.
Well, okay, I'm going to take that one farther. So, based on what we talked about tonight, I want that monitor to be on an arm that remembers settings, so
Like
that
a
I can be
stand-up
okay.
desk.
Yes. So when I'm sitting down, it will come in. When I want to do some VR at the desk, I can put the VR and it pushes all my monitors back, right? And it just moves them back to an area. It doesn't matter where they're at, just so they're far away from me, right? From that standpoint. And then, like you mentioned, either a sit down or a stand up configuration, then where I hit those, because listen, moving 9 monitors is not practical for stand up here. Like I'm locked to sitting down. I just am. There's no way I'm going to really move these things. But in that kind of scenario where if I've got them on some things where, and I guess, yeah, I could bolt them all to a single desk and the desk could go up and down, whatever. But it would be super cool if that those were all in memory positions where you would hit on the Stream Deck, stand up mode, and they would all move up.
Dude, this is
How
a
cool
stand-up
would that be?
desk here, and I've got everything mounted for that purpose. And I found the right height of the desk, and I've never touched it. I don't know if I'm afraid to touch it at this point or what. Plus, also, when you do that, you have to think about the cable management, because you can't have tight cables and tell your desk to stand up, because then all your stuff gets pulled off onto the floor.
Right. Yeah.
So you really have to think I know it sounds simple, but you have to think that stuff through on how you're going to do it.
Bob says I want the Mercedes-Benz button for displays. And yes, both the Samsung and this Corsair one are $2,000. So
yeah, you watch Leo Laporte, right, on his tech shows.
Yeah,
he has the monitor built into the desk.
Right.
That would be ideal. I would like 2 monitors built like kind of at that angle in my desk, so it doesn't block the sound at all. So I mean that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
The only problem is then when we're having conversations like this, I'd be like, "Yeah, Jim."
Well, that is the thing. You could put those on sliding, so you could push a button on the Stream Deck and
they move up on. Man, we're planning our future, aren't we?
Oh, it's actually everything we've talked about, super possible. It's not like we're trying to create artificial intelligence, right? It's
well, I don't know. I mean, I know again this is an audio podcast, but if you look behind me, I've got 2 chairs back there and this couch. So it's a nice little sitting area, but it's literally just sitting. It's no place you're going to just lounge out and be comfortable.
Yeah.
So we were looking at this chair my wife wants to buy me, and just to put it right here behind me, and it'd be a lounge chair with the massage in it, and I could just sit here and watch the TV. I think she just doesn't want me in the house, but I'm okay with that. So I'll sit here and I'll have something to sit on. But I think those little things that make your space comfortable.
Yeah. No, that's right on. Be getting the TV, getting the monitor that I'm going to watch TV off of at the right angle, so that when I can sit here, put the chair back, and it's at a perfect angle, eye angle, so I can watch TV like this. Is pretty great.
Yeah.
Put the feet up, and it's like, then people are like, well, but why aren't you watching TV on your 43-inch screen and the other?
Because then I have to go in the house with the wife.
You got a point. Yeah, you got a point. Yeah. You got a point. So, anyways, well, some good. Bob says, or your wife really wants to watch you work.
No,
and
he does say anywhere around me.
The first time someone does tight cable management on a standing desk, everything drags off the
right off
desk,
the desk.
right off it. Yeah.
And yeah, no, I've thought about that. And they have the little um, basket thing, the metal crate you screw to the bottom of your desk to keep all the stuff in.
Yeah.
That's not going to help you
No,
because
I
it
know.
keeps everything nice and tight and out of the way and looks really good. But as soon as you move that desk, your computer's on the floor. Or, like that's one thing we didn't discuss. I have the Mac Mini to my left, and it's sitting on the the expander ports.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what
Yeah.
company makes that.
We had a long conversation about those with Dave Jackson on Saturday and Ask the Podcast Coach because he just got a Mac Mini too. I think some of those from a productivity suite. I mean, we didn't talk about this. That could be a whole show just on docks. Like
Oh yeah,
the productivity that you can get out of a dock, can be, taking just your laptop and with one plug in, all the things it can do,
yep.
you know.
That's my office. I
Yeah.
take my PC. It's a Dell, and I take that and just plug it in, and it connects to everything. It's
Well,
in two additional monitors. So with my
yeah.
laptop, I end up
Yeah.
with three.
I
I
well,
like
I brought one home from work and I've just so it's a USB-C into my
hmm
laptop and it fires 3 monitors, which is great, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I'm using the Mac Mini, so I only have one HDMI, so I have to use an adapter
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
the TV,
Mhm.
which isn't bad. If you get something on two different screens, you don't notice the difference. But
Right.
if you have the same thing on each screen, you can notice a difference.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Because it's trying to keep that same resolution for
Yeah,
both. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't.
No, it doesn't do very well. No.
But the
That's the
TV,
one drawback. Yeah.
yeah, it's up there and it's on the adapter, and nobody would know. But if I
No.
put the same
Yeah.
image on both, you'd know.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's not a great way to do it. Bust out, who's joining us tonight? That welcome for you coming out here. Bust out, good to see you. Says I want a projector screen cut to fit my desk size, and a short throw overhead projector. So it's just all. I guess what he's saying is just everything beyond the desk is a monitor.
I wonder if you could you put the projector, build it into your desk, and project on all the walls around you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my
yeah.
office at
I
work that would
I
be
haven't
awesome with all the
I
white
haven't
walls.
seen. There are some short throw projectors, but they always suffer a little bit on the lighting side of things. Like they've gotten
Oh
a lot
yeah,
better, but man, nothing. I mean, I don't know if anything beats a well lit monitor. You know, so
well, it's like I've got these HPs, and I like I said, I had three of the same monitors surrounding me. It was nice because they were large.
yeah, yeah,
But now I've just got the one, and it's disappointing. But
yeah.
it looks really nice.
Well, and I've been messing around with VR, and I'll be honest, the first time I got in there and I started looking around, I was like, oh, you
Well,
mean I could do
tell me how that's going, by the way.
360 monitors? Pretty well. I've actually I've been playing Beat Saber in the mornings, like to warm up for my walk. So I get up for 20 minutes, set my time. Speaking of timers, tell the watch, you know,
Right?
let me know in 20 minutes. Do 20 minutes of Beat Saber on that thing, and
What is
then
that? I don't know.
it's a you have like lightsabers and blocks are coming at you, and you have
Oh,
to
so it's a,
slice the blocks in
a
half.
game.
It's a movement game.
Yep.
Yeah. And they have punching and all kinds of things that you
Right.
can do that I'm kind of exploring. So I've been from a fitness perspective, just starting to explore that. And I think actually for things like warm ups, and I mean, I think you can actually, there's some things you can do if you have the right space where you could really get your heart rate going on those things. So, um, the imagery on them is absolutely amazing. Like you get in there and some of the spaces where the resolution is right, it's creepy. Like it's like you start going I start looking down and you're like, "Oh, oh, that's a long ways away," you know?
So, have you noticed any motion sickness or the
A
things
little
that
bit,
people have complained about?
a little bit. Yeah, a
So
little
you
bit.
do.
Nothing that's too bad. I the more I'm doing it, the more I'm getting used to it type deal. I like
What
it.
What
I like
about
it.
realism? Like,
No.
I know the most things aren't, but like, if you were to tour someplace, like for visuals, like maybe a city, could you look around and see it in photograph quality at this point, or is it still
Um,
pixelated?
yeah, it all depends on what they're providing it in. I did Google Maps or Google Earth, not very good. Um, pretty.
Well, that
What's
would
that
be
game?
a good example.
What's the big block game? The it's real.
Tetris,
No, that Microsoft bot
the kid game,
yeah, the kid,
Robux,
you
or
can, yeah, you can build things and
yeah,
yeah. Anyways,
Robux or whatever it is.
no, yeah, somebody will throw it in chat here. You guys know what I'm talking about, and for some reason I'm struggling to remember the name of that thing. Um, it's in a lot of cases it's just a step above that. And so like so there's some areas for content that's specifically designed for that Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Thank you, Bob. Jeez, I don't know why that just totally ran out of my
Bob gets
brain.
the award tonight.
That's why we call him producer Bob.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
because he's behind the scenes producing, helping me all the time. Producer Bob, thank you.
Bob, you can
Um,
come over to my show every once in a while. Help me out.
he's good to have around. He's good. He's good in a pinch. So, anyways, no, not. I don't think from a realistic standpoint, it's great yet. Now, I think a whole bunch of those headsets, those Quest 2s, got sold at Christmas time, and I think there's probably going to be some more stuff coming. Some more and some better stuff. I'm just trying to get comfortable with the movements, you know?
But you mentioned the Google Street View and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad was it? I mean, was it passable? Is it similar to what you see on your monitor?
It's exactly the same as the monitor, except when you're seeing it in VR, it's all you see. Whereas it's really bad. Whereas on your screen, you're like, oh, okay, that's close enough.
Right.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
you could move your head and you can see, the 360 view of a neighborhood.
Yeah. If it's built for that, yes. Yeah. They have some things in Google Maps or Google Earth. I think it's Google Earth. You can go in some places and then it's all 360. It has to be built for that.
See,
Joe says this well. He says it's more immersive than realistic.
yeah.
And that's a good listen, if someone said, "Should I get one today?" Yes. Yes, you absolutely should. I think I got mine for 350. It's absolutely ready for fun and that kind of stuff. Is it Ready Player One? No. Like let's just be, and it's super creepy going into chat rooms. Like I went in and I'm like, I'm out. I'm not ready for this. I'm a podcaster. Like, and I wasn't ready for it. I was like, no, this is too much for me. People in weird outfits and stuff, you're
No.
like, yeah,
No.
no, I like this. I want to see the real you, right?
Right.
I
Well, that's what I'm
want
saying. If you got Google Earth or Google Street View or any of those, and you can go into a neighborhood, it gives you the opportunity to, like, maybe you can't travel to that neighborhood, maybe you can't travel to that, area. It would be great to just go and look around and see things that you wouldn't normally get to see.
yeah, yeah. But so Joe makes a good point. They have some videos that are 360 videos. So you separate that from I'm able to control the environment. Like on Google Earth, I control where I go. When you're watching some of these videos, I think I saw this one flying in an F-18 and leaning over and looking at the ground. It was kind of freaky, right? Yes. Now you don't have any control of that plane. It's a video that's been filmed with 3D cameras,
Right.
or if that's what they call it. But so there's a big difference in and I'm okay with both. I am okay. I think one of the cool things they have, you get a home, right, where you can do certain things to it, but when you boot into it, it's where you kind of land in the space. The graphics in that are pretty good, like that home world stuff. Pretty good, colorful. Again, not realistic, but pretty good. You get in
I'd have
there.
to try it.
That's one where you look over the edge. Like all the homes have an open infinity edge, so to speak, and you can walk out to it and look down, and you're like, "Holy crap! That's a long ways down there, right?" Um,
One day I'll tell you a story about that.
in real life.
Oh, dude, a real high level brief. I had a friend of mine in Las Vegas. He goes riding in Jeeps and he took me over Death Valley, over the mountains where there's no guardrails, no trees, no nothing. And you go up 7,500 feet on a path that's just barely wide enough for the Jeep itself.
Yeah.
Let's say I found out I'm afraid of heights.
It's a bad time to figure that out, right?
It was not good.
Yeah. Joe's corrected me actually. So he said flying in an F-18 and leaning over, looking at the ground was freaky. This is an actual flight he could control, right? Yeah, crashing it even more. Um, VTOL VR is the game I was referring to. So, yeah, there's some. Yeah, there's some of that too. I haven't done that yet, Joe. So I have to check that out. I haven't gotten that far on some of those games. So maybe there's some of those games where you can control it, where the video is a lot better. I'm not knocking it, by the way. I'm not knocking it for some of these things not being ready or not
No.
having. I'm just saying it's just this reality of it. There'll be better things to get into. The games are a little expensive. I mean, it's $20 for every game or more, and so
That's
after a
not
while, you
bad.
kind of you buy a
$20
bunch
for
of
a
them.
game.
Okay, well, yeah,
I mean, it depends. I mean, guess if you want to buy
yeah,
100 of
yeah,
them.
yeah. No,
But
right on.
I mean,
Yeah,
I really like the idea of the Google Maps and that type of stuff,
me too. Me
or
too.
or what you'll be able to do in the future, like being able to, you know, I look at it from training point of views, teaching classrooms that people may not be able to travel to.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Possibilities endless,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. No, right on. I watched a video the other day of 1,001 drones doing a um, New Year's New Year's Day, midnight or whatever presentation. Right? It was so 1,000 drones with all these different lights on them, doing all these different super cool. Right? If you've never seen a drone show, they're worth watching on YouTube. Right? They're pretty great. But imagine if you could be in a VR headset on one of those drones.
Can
Like
you,
that would be cool. Like now, seeing the show from the drones
from the drone's point of view.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I mean, the more we talk about it, the more things I can think. Oh, that'd be cool. This would be
yeah.
cool.
No, there could be, and I'm just scratching the surface. Like again, I said everybody should have one of these at $350. I think they're $399 regular,
Think about
but
just sporting events. If every like hockey game, if somebody's helmet had a camera in it, and you could sit in the headset and follow that person around as they were playing hockey or football or anything like that.
yeah. Okay, some good stuff in chat coming in. Bust Out says PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch games are all $60. Okay, I get it. You're right. You're right. I've been told. And then PC gamers are spoiled with a plethora of cheap games. That's true. That's true as well. And it's really mobile too. Mobile games are pretty cheap, right? Joe says Nintendo games are $50 in 1994. By all inflation metrics, games should be $100 these more, and that's true too as well. Like
Well, with
we,
today's
it,
inflation, that'd be probably $1,000
it's
bucks.
exactly it's $60. That's not bad. Bob has the right thing. He says YouTube 1,001 drones, record-breaking Christmas drone show. That's what it was. It was Christmas. Check that out. That's super cool. I think that was down in Texas.
Can check that out after this. Can
And
you imagine
then
how
Bust.
loud that would be? With
Yeah, you got to kind of wonder. But they had
if
big
you were there.
they had big speakers playing music over
I
it.
just wonder if
So
you're like around 1,000 drones, just that noise. We had a fire in my neighborhood the other day, and they sent a drone out to check it out, and you
yeah,
could hear that thing coming. I mean, it was just whizzing by.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
so impressive. I mean, I feel bad. It was right before Christmas, and a house four down from me caught on fire. But the technology and how impressive it was for the drone to come out, check things out. The crew came in. I mean, it was impressive. But
Mhm.
you could hear that drone coming from a mile away.
When you watch this video, this 1,001 drones for Christmas, they're setting all these up on the stadium field, right? And then they're like, okay, 2 minutes, clear the field, get off the field. Can you imagine as all those drones lifted up?
No,
And I'm sure they lifted in in patterns so that they wouldn't run into each other. But can
I
you
can't I
imagine the
can't control
sound?
one. I mean, I bought one with
Uh,
the high def camera and all that, so I could get some good shots.
yeah,
No, it doesn't work for me. And
yeah.
mine only lasts 20 minutes.
They are 100 feet in the air. So once they get up there, they're way up there. So you wouldn't. They're not like right on you, right? But you have to watch that. Watch that. Bust Out thinks there's some indications that game prices are going to rise. Yeah, they probably will, just like everything else. And then Xbox Game Pass Ultimate does help with some of the higher cost console games, though. And I did the PC. I just purchased the $10 PC Ultimate so I could get Flight Simulator because now I can
That
run it
would be
on
cool.
this
That
new
would be cool.
computer. So I've been messing around with Flight Simulator. Now if I could get Simulator on the VR and control that thing, that would be kind of cool. All right, Jay, we have gone long enough. Jay, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for being my friend and hanging out here and some good
No, thank
conversation.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate you
you. And
having you.
the chat's impressive tonight. I like it. And
It
Bob,
had this
thank
is
you.
yeah yeah. It's this has been the best chat we've had in a while. I mean, everybody's jumping in. Thanks, guys. Bust Out, Joe, Bob. Saw Brian out there a little bit earlier. Tony, we missed you. Sorry that you didn't get a chance to be out here tonight. John was out there, but then John got really quiet. Ryan checked in from DC. I mean, from Vegas
Vegas.
earlier. Did I miss anybody? Oh, Jim Shoemaker was out earlier as well. So we appreciate you guys coming out. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the averageguy.tv/live. John Maddox from Channels is with us next week. That'll be fun. Catch up with John and what's going on at Channels. He's kind of a fun guy to hang out with and super interesting. And then Christian, you want to be here in 2 weeks. Christian's coming on. It's kind of a Cyber Frontiers Home Gadget Geeks. We're going to talk about what's going on at LastPass. And so he's got a unique perspective on it, and I'll have some questions for him on it. And then on the 26th, Ryan and Bob are joining us. And I just realized, Uncle Marv, I saw you out there earlier. And then I just realized Uncle Marv, I thought I put you down, but I'm not seeing you on my list. So I'll have to go back through those emails and make sure I've got that. Uncle Marv, go
What
ahead.
about Sammy?
It's not a good time for her. She just doesn't want to come on, just to be honest. I had her booked twice, and each time we got close, she's like, "Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I don't know if I can do this." And I'm not going to force her. Yeah, I'm not going to force her. There'll be a day. There'll be a day when it's time to get her back on. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. We'd love to have you out in the chat room like you heard tonight. Lots of chat going on. We'd love to have you as a part of it. You can stock it if you want. And we'd love to have you out for it. For those of you joining us on Patreon, thanks for doing that. I mentioned theaverageguy.patreon, theaverageguy.tv. Let's just say the whole thing right, Jim. Theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. If you want to join us in Discord, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Is that what I said? Yeah. And you in chat. Thanks for coming out tonight. For those listening live, if you are listening to the podcast and you're now caught up, good for you. Like you're done. Hopefully you're caught up. I don't know. Maybe it's a year from now and you're not, but that's the future and I can't control that. Thanks for coming out. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Yeah. Yet. Oh, Jay, thanks for coming out.
Thank you, sir.
Good to have you guys in the chat room. Thanks for what's your next, okay, besides the cameras and stuff you got from a pure podcasting standpoint, audio wise, do you have any gear that you're looking at that you'll replace here soon, or are you set from that perspective?
I have a portable, the Zoom H6. I bought a couple microphones, just simple Shure SM58s. So that's going to allow me to go in the field and do some recording. But I'd like to get the camera set up. I'd like a RE20 at some point. I just don't feel like I have a need for it. It's one of those things. And I do have I'm putting together a second show So that's something that's taken a lot of my time. I'm focusing on. I produced a song, and I'm gonna make that the intro to the show, and hiring a voiceover guy right now to take care of it for me.
Nice.
So
Nice.
exciting stuff.
Why a second show?
I am doing an entertainment interview, news, and review show. So combining my two loves of leadership and in the entertainment world.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I've got about 30 guests lined up right now, and I'm pretty excited about it. Some of the
Nice.
rock bands that I grew up listening to, and
Yeah.
some of the country artists I had a chance to work with.
Yeah.
So it's getting
Yeah.
pretty.
That's
It's
cool.
getting close.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I'm more
Yeah.
excited about it now.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's good. I mean, you want to be excited about it. It's it's not fun if you're not having fun, and that seems a little, I mean, everybody goes, thanks for that, Captain Obvious, but it's amazing the things we do
Well, you
along
notice it.
these lines. And you're like, I don't know why I'm still doing this. I'm not having any fun. Why am I doing this? Is really dumb. Why am I still doing this?
Well, we do like you have Gallup. I have the leadership podcast, and we talk to leaders from around the world, and that's great. I enjoy those conversations, but I also want to talk about the audio and the other people. I talk to comedians and so forth. So
Yeah.
just more of the entertainment side.
Yeah.
Stuff that I can't really put on the other show.
Right. Well, and that's this for me. Like, I can't really do my technology stuff on the Gallup side of things. So this
It's the
gets me
exact same thing for me.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, hang tight for me one sec, Jay. Chat room, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for staying in the long haul for us, Brian. Brian says awesome to that, by the way, Jay.
Thank you also.
And we'll see you guys next week. Again, don't forget John Maddox from Channels is back, and we've been digging Channels, and we'll get a rundown from him on what's going on in the Channels world and what does that mean for Plex and some of the other things that are going on. And so we'll see you guys next Thursday. Come out and join us again. Thanks for coming out. You guys represented well. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.